Yeah, good afternoon, Madam Speaker.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to my colleagues in the
And debate
House.
continues. I forgot that part.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker, and good afternoon to Dominica.
Please.
Madam Speaker, I missed the opportunity earlier to express condolences to the family of the late Jean Pestiner. So I want to take the opportunity to express condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones of the late Jean Pestiner. I also wish to do the same for the late former senator in Wesley, Mr. Carbon, and for every other Dominican who have lost a loved one over the past few days, inclusive of Mr. Ducre. Madam Speaker, I also want to take the opportunity to express gratitude to all those who continue to contribute in one way or the other to the development of Dominica, particularly the people in the Roseau South constituency. And on that note, I want to say a special good afternoon to the constituents of the Roseau South constituency. I want to thank the prayer warriors who continue to pray for yours truly and to pray for leadership and better governance in Dominica by extension. My lady, I'm sorry, my sincere. Madam Speaker, we have listened to quite a number of submissions thus far, and I do not have the time to distill every submission, but nonetheless I will look at the Prime Minister's budget address and to highlight a few areas which I personally would like to submit on. One of the things that the Honourable Prime Minister noted in his introduction is that he said the government of Dominica wants to empower ordinary citizens to make more of their choices that will determine their future. And I think that is consistent with the United Workers' Party Team Dominica's objective. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, we have a common goal here, and our common goal basically is to improve lives, to make life better. And I see that the member for the Cottage constituency is looking at me because he agrees with me, and by body language he agrees that we have a common purpose. We have a common purpose here in this honorable house, and that basically is to represent the people of Dominica to make their lives better. And in that respect, the Prime Minister also spoke about a new mode of governance, which would suggest that he's calling for more consultations and joint committees in the House, in the Honorable House. And of course, that is welcome too, because we understand to develop Dominica, unity is better than a divisive spirit. And in Team Dominica, as the name suggests, Team Dominica, we believe in teamwork. We believe in unity. And we have no difficulty working with government and government ministers to make life better for all of us in Dominica. Because we understand that we must improve our bilateral relationships, our multilateral relationships. We must improve our approach to governance if we were to take Dominica to the next level. And on that note, the Honourable Prime Minister spoke about excitement. He had an excitement in submitting his budget address. And all of us want that excitement. But it's not exciting when we look at where Dominica is as far as economic indicators are concerned. When we look at Dominica from a comparative point of view, let us look at per capita income in the OECS. Per capita income probably is the most practical measure to ascertain the state of development, to look at where a country is from an economic point of view. And I said it is one of the most reliable measures of standard of living in a country. And when we look at Dominica compared to St. Vincent, Grenada, among other Eastern Caribbean countries, we would note that we are just one before the last. One before the last. The last being St. Vincent, which is just over 7,000 US dollars. So when we look at where we are compared to St. Kitts, which is over 16,000 US dollars, clearly we have a long way to go. So when the government comes here and the ministers of government make it appear that we have done so well over the past 17 years, that's the reality. The reality is we still have a very long way to go. Because when you look at per capita income, basically we are looking at income per individual. For every Dominican, annually, how much money does that person attain? and we are one before the last. So we have a long way to go as far as our economic development is concerned. We are grateful we have made some progress, and when you look at the economic data, we have to admit we have made some progress. Our debt, national debt to GDP, is one of the best in the region. We cannot deny that. But let's look at something else. Let's look at unemployment. Unemployment. We have one of the highest rate of unemployment in the Eastern Caribbean. It is. It's a fact. I want you to look at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. As I speak with you, we have our tablets. We have our smartphones. Go on the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and look at the unemployment rate for Dominica compared to the other Eastern Caribbean countries, and you would note we still have one of the highest unemployment rates in the Caribbean. Yes. And that's a fact. And it's a stubborn fact. It's a stubborn fact. So even if you come here and you dance, yes, and you put clouds over the air, that's not going to change the fact. It is a fact. But not only we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the region, we have an underemployment situation in Dominica. We have a serious underemployment situation on the island, meaning that we have significant mismatches. So we have a number of graduates coming back to Dominica, but they're having difficulties obtaining jobs to commensurate with their qualifications. And on that note, we do support one graduate per household. But in Team Dominica United Workers' Party, we want to go beyond that. We want to put an economic strategic plan in Dominica that will provide for our graduates so that when they get back to Dominica, they will not just hang around and then leave Dominica, because we have a serious situation on the island where we are educating for export. We're not like Barbados, where you have education for export. The country has gotten to a certain level and can afford to send its skilled persons out to Barbados. In Dominica, we need our skilled people, but we have not been able to provide the type of economic landscape to retain our educated persons. And that is why Team Dominica United Workers' Party has a vision for Dominica, a very serious vision, because we understand that human resource development is crucial. And the Honourable Prime Minister himself made that admission. To develop a country, you have to develop your human resource base. But you must not just develop the human resource base, you must find a way to retain the skilled personnel. And we are saying that we want to create a situation in Dominica where our skilled people will stay in Dominica, because we understand that importance. Madam Speaker, going forward, and I want to talk about education, because I'm going to look at some subheadings. Under education, we understand that the government boasts about the right to education, and that is true. Education is a right, it's not a privilege. And that is consistent with the United Nations. That is consistent with the Education Act of Dominica. Every child should be given an opportunity to go to school. But we're having a problem with our education system now, where children who are not academically inclined are having difficulties at schools, and as such, they have to drop out. And it's about 2 years now since the government embarked on a study to ascertain what is the situation with our high school dropout rates. And we have not heard anything since then, because it is a problem. And the people who are being left behind are poor people's children. And if you really care about poor people, as the government ministers make it appear that they have a monopoly on care in Dominica, I want to burst your bubble. You are not the only ones who care about Dominicans. You are not the only ones. You understand? So we have to find a way to carry out a proper study to determine how many of our children have been left behind, because we do not provide enough vocational and technical programs for our poor people. At the college, Dominica State College, we need to get programs which will provide for technical areas where we can certify. We need to expand it. We need to certify more plumbers, more carpenters, and more skilled persons. You understand? And that not only at the tertiary level, but at the primary and secondary level, because you can identify persons at a very early age who are technically inclined. And therefore, instead of waste their time and eventually have to drop out of school, we have to provide vocational and technical support for them. So we must improve the education system. And that takes me to the area of sports. Now, the Prime Minister spoke about the National Multi-Purpose Sports Facility. And again, in the United Workers' Party Team Dominica, we support anything and everything that is good, because we care for Dominicans as well. Yes, yes. Many of you on the government side, I listened to the member for Roseau Valley this morning. He spoke about using a pit latrine. I think most of us here use a pit latrine. Yes. We epitomize the ordinary Dominican. I know of pit latrines. I had no plumbing at my home. None. So it is good to know that some of us remember where we came from. Yes. And in that respect, we want to create a Dominica that is in the best interest of everyone, and that includes our young people. So the National Multi-Purpose Sports Facility is welcomed. But we cannot stop there. We have to develop our sporting facilities throughout the island, the length and breadth of Dominica. Because we have quite a number of football playing fields which are dilapidated. They have been neglected. Even in my constituency, as an example, in Jodel, we have an incomplete facility. There was some haste to do some work on the Jodel playing field before the national election of 2014. And since then, there has been a complete and total abandonment, such that the young people of Jodel and Egliston are wondering whether they did something wrong to the government of Dominica, because their playing fields have been abandoned. Jodel and Egliston. So we are saying to the government of Dominica that while we welcome the National Multi-Purpose Sports Facility, we should pay more attention to the indigenous sports facilities on a local level. We need to go to St. Joseph, and I see that the member for St. Joseph agrees with me, because even in his constituency, there are some rundown facilities. Yes, we want basketball courts. We want improved football playing fields. We want to move to non-traditional sports, because we want to bring in things like swimming, and not only at that multi-purpose sports facility that will dawn upon us, hopefully, because we understand that this government has made many promises that it never fulfilled. But again, we're keeping it real, and I'm being an optimist. I'm saying hopefully we will get that facility. So while I'm here talking about sports, let me just mesh that conversation with my constituency. And I mentioned Jodel and Egliston. At Lubia, as an example, we have been waiting for the lighting of the playing field forever. It's like waiting for the return of Jesus. We have been waiting forever, but we'll continue to persevere. We'll continue to be patient. Because under my leadership, we have seen that football has resuscitated at Lubia. After total neglect of Lubia, we have seen a complete resuscitation of football. The young people are using the playing field, and they are looking for the lighting of the playing field. They are also looking to improve. Madam Speaker, you see, truth sometimes hurts. Truth sometimes hurts, and I'm an author of truth. I am an author of truth, and it is hurting certain persons here because it's a fact. It's a fact. It's a fact that I wrote the Minister of Sports a number of letters, and she did not even have the courtesy to respond. She did not even have the professionalism to respond. But nonetheless, she's here speaking across the table. And that is the type of disposition that some ministers have, and that is why they are deemed to be incapable to continue in government. Because that type of disposition is not proper for the governance of a country. Running a country is not running a shop. This is not a toy shop. This is about lives. And talking about lives in Dominica, we in Team Dominica United Workers' Party, we can testify that we touch lives. Because these ministers who have the national purse at their disposal, they have the authority and the power to simply tell people, come up to ministries and they help. In my case, as an example, I use my parliamentary salary to help to sponsor football leagues. And I can say the same for the members of Team Dominica United Workers' Party. A matter of fact, in the Roseau South constituency, we have our version of the Red Clinic. But again, Again, I don't believe in the precept of the left hand knowing the right hand. So unlike the members of the government who like to go on radio and show their charade, they're helping somebody, I don't do that. There is no need to go on national TV to show somebody helping a purpose child. So I'm not going to make declarations and disclosures as to the number of persons who have benefited from my parliamentary salary. But I want to say to these ministers of government that when they stand in this honorable house to peddle misinformation, I have to correct them. They're trying to make it appear that they are the only ones who care about Dominicans. And we know that is not true. We know that is not true. So this propaganda that is being perpetuated repeatedly to make it appear that the members of the opposition are not interested in Dominicans, that we call people bad name, we're not interested in these social programs, that is totally untrue. That is totally untrue. And I listened to the member for the Kalinago territory this morning talking about how people in Concord are asking him or telling him he's representing them and that the member for the Marigot constituency is not representing them. I want to say to him, Madam Speaker, that every time I go to the Kalinago territory, the people are asking me to represent them. And he better watch out. He better watch out. He better watch out, because when I consolidate the Roseau South constituency for the opposition, I might consider running to the Kalinago territory. And he will be history. So while he's there trying to assume, he's trying to assume some power and making it appear that he is so much of a great need in Concord. The reality on the ground in the Kalinago territory is that this is one of the laziest PAL reps that I've ever had. This is one of the laziest. So going to the airport and picking up somebody and taking him to his or her home don't make you a competent PAL rep. The people are calling on me to stand for them, and I will make mention of it. Reparations for the Kalinago territory. We have never heard the honorable member for the Kalinago territory speak of reparations. He has never set up a joint committee in the Kalinago territory to talk about how he's going to arrest the marginalization of the purity of the Kalinago people. He has never had any discussion about land use in the Kalinago territory. But again, you cannot blame the gentleman because he's part of a team that is not visionary. And that is why they are saying, Joshua Francis, we want you to represent them. So remember, while you're out there looking at the backyard of the opposition leader who is solid, who is crystallized in his constituency, you have to be careful. Take care of your backyard, sir. So, Madam Speaker, moving on. Just to look at the the caption of improving the road network in Dominica. The Honourable Prime Minister spoke about improving some roads and so on throughout Dominica, and I'm happy to have noted that the Roseau South constituency will benefit because the roads at Egliston and Jodel have been in deplorable state for a very long time. A matter of fact, not too long ago, I had a constituent who called me after 11 in the night, a young lady driving home, her tire burst. Yes, Madam Speaker, I was at my home. I see that certain members, yes. Come on, I can take, you know. I can take. Madam Speaker, I respectfully, I'm asking that you caution some of these members, you know, I want them to know that Joshua Francis is a fearless man. I know your cards. So when you think that you are immaculate and impeccable, and that you appear to be angel of light, I want you to know that I have your report books. I have your report books. But I believe...
you do understand that that is imputing improper motive, eh?
Madam Speaker, respectfully, I withdraw my statement.
Okay.
But I was talking about roads. We understand that developing the roads in Dominica is very difficult in view of our climatic conditions. But nonetheless, this is a government that has collected significant funds from the CBI. This government has enjoyed more revenue than any previous government. And it is, but we do not measure the government against how much revenue that has been collected, but how it has spent the revenue. Because it's not anything innovative that has been done. Selling passport does not take any serious innovation. So The point is that while we understand that the road condition in Dominica is difficult to maintain, the government has to understand that as part of caring for people, that the roads must be in better situations. It is unacceptable that the Jodel Road has been allowed to be in the state that it is currently is. But I cannot change the past. Moving forward, I'm happy that the government of Dominica has finally seen it fit to rehabilitate the roads. So I hope we do not just have a pie in the sky over the next 12 months. I hope that these roads will be rehabilitated because the people of Jodel and Eggleston will be very happy. And unlike the member and Minister of Sports, the Minister of Communication and Works was very professional in her responses to my letters. She has been very cooperative. We have had several conversations about the conditions of the road at Jodel and Eggleston. So, Madam Speaker, I'm happy that has been placed as a priority for the government of Dominica because it is a priority. The roads need to fix as soon as yesterday. Not only the Jodel and Eggleston roads are deplorable, but we have other roads in places such as Kings Hill. Madam Speaker, Kings Hill is just up the road. And the government spoke about improving the city. The Prime Minister, in his address, spoke about improving the city. I want to say that Kings Hill is on the periphery of the city, and in certain respects, geographically, we can say that it's part of the city. So while we are improving certain roads in the central district business center of Dominica, we have to consider the sidewalks and the roads on the periphery. And the Kings Hill roads require urgent attention. Now again, in the budget address of the Prime Minister, he spoke about allocation of funds for the
You have 5 minutes left.
for the Monbus Road. But we are saying the Monbus Road is just part of the equation. We need funds for the Center Street, Back Street, and for the catchment area of Kings Hill. We also have a situation with roads at Emsall. I see some work is happening up there, and we're happy about that. I'm also happy to note that the bridge between Bath Estate and Emsall will finally be constructed. Again, we're hoping that it's not just a promise. We are looking forward to the fruition of that undertaken by the government of Dominica. So, Madam Speaker, we want to see an improvement in the road network. At Wall House and Castle Comfort, we understand that these areas are private development areas, but nonetheless, again, a caring government will allocate sufficient funding for the improvement of these roads. So, Madam Speaker, moving on, in the presentation of the Prime Minister, he spoke about increasing the threshold for persons with a certain income tax exemptions. So persons who are earning less than 30,000 annually will be part of the threshold where they will not pay income tax. And we welcome that, except that we are saying in Team Dominica United Workers' Party, we would go beyond that, where we would take a bold step to remove VAT duties on certain items, particularly producer goods, because we understand that you have to manipulate the fiscal situation in Dominica to stimulate the economy, because that measure is going to touch persons who are working. What about the low-income persons, or the persons who are earning 10,000? What about the people who are not working at all? The NEP workers. What we are saying is that had the government remove VAT or reduce VAT on certain consumption items, that would touch more lives. It would be more equitable, and at the same time, it would help stimulate the economy on a broader level. Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, again, you understand the vision in Team Dominica United Workers' Party. You heard the leader of the opposition, the Honourable Lennox Linton, spoke about enjoying and realizing a higher economic growth in Dominica. For us to really expand the economy, and again, we welcome a larger budget because we understand a larger budget would mean increased government expenditure, a greater inflow of funds into the economy, and therefore we expect the multiplier effect to expand, hence a larger economy, more people with money in their pockets. But we are saying that as better managers in Team Dominica United Workers' Party, better managers, and we have a record. My colleague right next to me has a history of, that is a member for Roseau Central, has a history of proper and good management, contrary to what you all are saying. Contrary to what you all are saying on the government side. Yes, member for Portsmouth. So we are good managers.
Order, please.
No. Quickly, I know I don't have much time, but I want to move to the area of the allocation of funding for cancer patients. Again, we are visionaries in the opposition because we understand that we do not only, and we should not only care for persons who are sick, but we have to find a way to prevent people from getting sick. And we have appreciation for science. So what we are saying is that the government could allocate funding for research because we understand that Dominica has one of the highest cancer rates in the Caribbean.
That's not so.
And that's a fact. So if you really care about people, then allocate some funds to ascertain why is it that so many people are getting cancers in Dominica? Could it be something local? Could it be something in our soils, in our water? So we are saying in Team Dominica United Workers Party that while some guys here, well, I sincerely apologize, Madam Speaker, while members of the government are saying, that they care about Dominica so much, and we are not disputing that. They may have some care, but we care even more by saying that it's time that we promote science on the island. Research. We need to promote research. We need to find a way to understand why is it that so many persons are getting cancers. We may be able to save lives. At least let's start the conversation. Madam Speaker, another area which I find to be of note is that given that climate change
You
is
have
a
half a
universal
minute
subject,
left.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I move that the member receive an additional 5 minutes, Madam Speaker.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the member get a further 5 minutes to complete his contribution. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against?
I sound stronger, Madam.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
I think many of them are abstaining.
May I, Madam Speaker?
Yes, you have half a minute to make your final statement.
half a minute?
Yes,
Wow.
that's what I told you before.
Madam Speaker, climate change. It is embarrassing to the government that a budget address in 2017 made no mention of allocation of funds for climate change. Nothing about reducing the vulnerability of Dominica to natural disasters. Nothing. In my constituency, as an example, we have quite a number of chattel homes on the coastal areas. A government with a vision would ensure that it has a committee in place so that it can conduct projects to determine how is it that it's going to reduce the vulnerability of these areas to natural disasters, especially in view of what
Your
transpired
last
with Tropical
sentence, you're
Dominica.
over time.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.